Hello, forest dwellers. So, my task today is to talk about makeup in the forest, all day wear, um, some of the options, and go over some techniques with you guys. I'm in no way an expert, but I enjoy playing with makeup. And I kind of learned a few things over the past few years as I've dabbled. Something important to note is makeup is not required. You don't have to wear makeup if you don't choose to. You can do as little as highlighter just to have a little bit of that fairy vibe, or you can do a full look. Things to consider is how long it's going to take to do that look every morning because we do have to be ready at cast call, definitely before opening gates. So that's something to consider. It's a big thing. Another thing to consider is consistency. Is it a look that you can make pretty darn close to that exact same look from day to day? Because this is going to be your identifier as a character. And then things that you'll learn if you are new to makeup is how your skin reacts to certain makeups. I have a friend who can wear very little brands of makeup, and that includes name brand or over the counter. Her skin is just very sensitive. Other people have skin that can wear grease paint all day and be fine. Although I do not recommend wearing grease paint ever. So what I do when I'm getting ready to be Amanita, it's pretty much what I do for my normal human makeup, but I just pack on the color a lot more. The general rules, if you want makeup to last all day, whether it is for theater or for just a normal day look, are moisturizer, primer, foundation, concealer if you need it, and powder. Like you always want to set things with the powder. That's going to help it. It's going to prevent little cracks and lines showing up, and it's also going to make it last all day. With us being outside all day, that's another thing to consider. I'll show you what I use when I use for my moisturizer. CeraVe. It's a good brand for skin for most people. And their face sunscreen, this is what it looks like, has an SPF of 30, and I just use this as my moisturizer when I'm doing Fest. So I'm going to start by putting this on. And you just need a little. I mean, your face isn't really as big of a surface area as you think it is, but I usually do like just a little bit, and you just rub it in and make sure that your hands are clean. If again, a lot of you have worn makeup before, but if you haven't, a general rule that helps prevent acne is only touch your face with clean hands, especially right now with COVID. We want to be extra cautious of that because we don't want to be getting ourselves sick from any pesky little demons on our hands. So once you have your moisturizer, you want to go on to a primer. Almost everything that I use is drugstore makeup. There's certain brands of drugstore makeup that I feel are just as good, if not better, than some name brands. Last season that we had a season, I used e.l.f.'s Poreless Putty, and the one little container of primer, I had leftovers, and I was still using it until about a month ago. Granted, I don't wear makeup very often because I work in childcare, so nobody cares if I have a business face or not. But right now I'm using e.l.f. Poreless Primer. Very cheap. It feels nice on my skin, but again, it's kind of up to you guys to explore what works for you, for your skin. And again, I put this everywhere, just like my moisturizer. I put it all over my face. Just rub it in. And that just kind of helps. Number one, it helps makeup stick to it, which helps it last. But it also helps fill in some of the fine lines or larger pores that we may have. Which for me, I really like for more than one reason. But the biggest reason for Fest is that, like as a fairy, especially as one of our older fae on the cast right now, it still makes us appear a little bit more childlike, a little bit more whimsy, and it just helps keep the magic. There if you wanted to go the other route, you can do that. You can age yourself. And I can show you some tricks with that when I get into our prosthetic application tutorial. There's just it's the opposite side of the scale. So if you're going for like a youthful, more magical fae, I recommend trying to get rid of as much as you can. So after you have your primer on, you want to move on to your foundation. Something that I look for when I'm doing fest is long wear. I've watched a lot of makeup reviews over the past few years. The one that I like best for fest, I actually haven't seen reviewed, but I really like it. I use CoverGirl Outlast Active. I use this because it is targeted towards people moving around, people sweating, and it also says that it's a 24-hour foundation. The one that I use for my everyday is, let me find that real quick. Infallible. I believe it's called L'Oreal Infallible. And that also works really good. I mean, I haven't gone for a jog or anything in it, but this one also promises to be a 24-hour everyday wear. So those two are ones that I can vouch for, that I think would work pretty well for an all-day festa look. But again, your skin is more important than my opinion. So what works best for you is what you should do. So when I do foundation, I usually just put some on the back of my hand, like a quarter size. And then I just kind of dot it all over, and then I blend it with a beauty blender. Some people prefer to use a brush or just their hands, or one of our little makeup wedges that look like this. And these I used a lot when I was first learning how to do makeup, and I learned that I was using them wrong. So I was wasting a lot of product. But yeah, a damp sponge, and I just dab my life away on my face. And I haven't used this particular foundation in a while, so I don't know if I have the right shade, but I am a pale person, so it's it's very rarely too light for me. So and I go over my lids as well, and my eyebrows, everything, because once I set it with the powder, any other makeup I apply will go over it just fine. For me, one of my trouble spots is like the crease where my nostril meets my cheek. So I like to give that a little extra close-up attention when I'm doing my makeup. And make sure you're blending towards your ears and also down a little bit, because if you do have a shade that's in any way the wrong shade, whether it's too light or too dark, that's where you're gonna first people are gonna see it first. And something to consider also with why I do enjoy doing makeup for my character is people will take pictures with you, either pictures with you or pictures of you, and you're going to show up on social media or just in somebody's memory book. And the social media is the big one for me, because depending upon how far you want to go with your character, you're going to want to make a character page, and you're going to want to be able to share any images that you can find of your character to that page just to promote yourself. So anything, just the little attention to details, it'll help. So then what I move on to is we did foundation, concealer. Some people don't need it. Some people need more of it. I typically don't do spot touches for like blemishes on my skin because I don't often have any, but you can do that as well. Most people use just for like your under eye area. When you're doing full-on contouring, you might use it in more places. When I'm Amanita, I try to do zero contouring other than just under my eyes. So I do just a few little swipes. War paint, pretty cool. This could be your look. Yeah, I don't recommend it, but it could be. If you were doing a more like contoured, if you wanted to make your nose look smaller, you could do a line down the middle. It works best if you do a darker color along the outer sides of your nose as well. I usually only do that if I'm doing like full-on glam. which is like never because I don't leave the house. So again, just like your foundation, wherever you put your concealer, you're going to want to blend it out. Because most people don't want to look like they have, I don't know, loss of pigment in their face in random lines. So, and again, I go over my eyelid with this as well. Okay. So next is what I feel is most important, and this is true whether you're doing regular natural looking makeup or if you're doing a cream based makeup. You need to set it. You set it with powder. I like to use a setting powder designed for under your eyes for just my under eye area, and then a normal translucent powder for the rest of my face. And I use e.l.f. brand for this. Very affordable, easy to get. For me, because my skin is so fair, most translucent powders are actually too dark for me. I try to look for powders that are white. Like when you look at them, they're white. Most people don't have that problem. I just am one skin tone away from being translucent. So that probably wouldn't be a problem for most of you. But it's something to keep in mind as you're doing your looks. And I do recommend practicing and playing with it so that you know what you want to do before you wake up the morning of Fest. That way you have it down, you have a little bit of a routine, you know the effective ways to do it for you. So for my under eye, I take the powder on a soft brush and I just dab it on. And it's kind of hard to see on camera, but I don't quite go as far as to do what the beauty gurus do and where they call it like baking, but I do try to apply it fairly heavily because I know that this is an area on my body that does crease a lot. And my eyes occasionally, when I'm doing makeup or randomly throughout the day, will start to water on my inner corners. And that's the first place that I'm going to have an issue with my makeup breaking down is under my eyes. So I try to make sure I put a decent amount of powder there. And then the rest of the translucent powder I just put on a larger brush and I just lightly rub it on. If you push too hard, you can move your makeup. Some people prefer to like literally dab it more like this. I don't prefer to do that. I don't know if you can see it in the camera, but it just makes dust go everywhere. And I don't like to breathe in things that you're not supposed to breathe. So I like to do the light, soft circles instead for my personal preference. And just anywhere that you applied any liquid or cream, you want to set it. If you're applying a colored cream, instead of a translucent powder, if you wanted to add further detail or enhance the color more, you can use a colored eyeshadow instead. That is something that some of my favorite YouTubers do, actually. And I will mention them in the comments or bring them up when I'm doing the application, the like FX style makeup application, because that's where I learned pretty much everything is from watching other gurus or whatever you want to say do it. So I tend to do a more natural eye look, and honestly it's not any different than what I do normally for my everyday makeup. I actually wear the exact same colors. So I do an all over light shade, like a nude color, and I go over my entire upper eye area all the way up to my brow with that. That just makes a base. It kind of further sets the foundation and concealer that went there, but it also just makes a nice soft base for any colors that you might do. So I recommend doing that whether you're doing a natural look or not. Just a nude shadow everywhere. It helps with blending too. So then I go in with one of my lightest colors that I have. I like to use kind of peach and maroon tones, which works really well for my character because I'm a mushroom. So I feel like if I were to do straight red, that would be too intense. So I like to do it a little bit lighter. And I go just little swishy motions in my crease. And there's a lot of variables too with how your eyes are set. You may have to bring your color up higher or not as high, depending upon what you're going for. And if you have hooded eyes or shallow set, if you do makeup, you'll know what to do. If you've never done makeup, again, you'll have to play with this. This is also a good place to start to think about what you're going to do for your character, because I like to stop and do it pretty much how a human would wear their makeup. An average everyday human would wear their makeup. You can, if you choose, and I'll just do this on one side. You can bring it out like farther. Just really you don't have to be shy. You can do it as bold as you want. But just keeping in mind, you have to be able to do the same look every day during the early hours of the day when some of us may not function fully. So pulled out, normal. And then you want to go in with a deeper color and repeat the process. You can do as many layers and depths of colors as you want to do. I usually stop with this and one darker. And I think today I'll go with more red color. If I was not doing Amanita, I would probably go with more of a brown color to make it look more just normal. What makeup? Kind of a makeup look, natural. That's the word I'm looking for. I'm an interesting human. I use interesting words when I describe myself. So you just go in, you go deep. It just adds depth and it'll make your eyes appear bigger as well. So again, I'm just pulling that color out. And you can even pull it all the way to your hairline as you're blending. And then you can also go under a little if you want. Just something that's a little bit more dramatic. It's not just your normal makeup, but again, completely optional for how you want to do it. Depending upon your character and what your goals are and what you want to achieve with your look. I like to pull it up a little bit too. Okay, so I have my normal, like what I would do for Amanita or for everyday, and then I have a more dramatic eye. You can go further with that. You can do, I try to avoid eyeliner when I'm doing my fest look. You can do it, just be tasteful with it. At the same time, you can use your eyeliner, or you can get eyeliners in pretty much any color nowadays. I like the marker kind. You can get them, if I can get open. I recommend, if you're going to use it for doing any dots or little whooshies or swirlies, that you find one that is waterproof. It'll be harder to get off, which is a good thing, because we all know we've all been at fest and we've had the rain attacks. And the last thing we want is to look like we're melting. So if you wanted to do a little line going out, draw it in. You can do that. I have hooded eyes too. So when I do, it's really hard for me to do it in the camera. So I'm going to look in here. Draw it in. There we go. You just follow your line of your lashes over. I'm not a fan of this is a new one that I got in my Ipsy box. Will not buy this brand. I'm glad I only paid a couple dollars for everything in it, because this one's not a winner. But it'll work for this purpose. Again, like I said, why you gotta try stuff out, because not every product is created equal. And at the same time, one of you might be using this particular eyeliner and think it's awesome. I do not. I think it's dumb. So something else you could do is you could do like a little swirl coming out It's, again, product quality sucks. I'm going to see if I can find a different marker real quick because, oof, this one is painful. Okay, is this a marker? Haha, I found one. Okay, so let's try this guy. You can do another one. Some people like to do a lot of dots, so you could do like a dot situation. You can pull your eyeliner on the inner eye. I'm going to use so those are some little things you can do. You can do the same thing with your eyebrows. I know that there's a lot of really cool pictures if you just Google search or Pinterest search, like fairy makeup. Some really fun stuff. For Amanita, I am a heavily blushed fairy, which I kind of like because I tend to get red when I'm outside because I'm a fair-skinned person. So I just kind of accentuate it. I've played around with different blushes. I've used loose pigments, which are also really good if you can find the right color. I hit gold when I found my Revlon. Like, this color is, I don't know how anybody could wear this and look natural. But that's a good thing for me because I'm not trying to look natural. So, I just do layers and layers and layers until I get it how I want. And so I usually just, see, like that's like one little swipe, and I bring it all the way up to my forehead when I'm doing this. Something I learned recently, I was born in '89, so I consider myself to be a '90s baby. But basically what I'm doing when I do my makeup is a very extreme version of blush contouring, which was really popular in the '80s. So if you do this, but a lot lighter, that is something you can get away with every day, actually, and just you wouldn't look this crazy. So I'll do a little bit on the other side, just since I am going for a different look over here. So extreme blush, extreme eyeliner, different things. When I do Amanita, I also like to blush my nose. I just use my finger for that, and I go over my nose. I do mostly like my little nostril areas, like kind of inspiration of like a bunny. I hope I don't have any bats in the cave. Sorry guys, this is not an attractive angle. Fun fact, I did this in a parking lot recently while filming my Amanita Winterfest transformation that I sent off for that montage. So basically that's Amanita. The only thing I add when I'm her is I do mascara, and I recommend waterproof. And I usually do only my uppers when I do fest. I just feel like it makes me look younger. Did my eyeliner so thick on that eye you can't even see them lashes. I try to avoid using false lashes when I do fest, just because number one, I feel like they're annoying in general, and number two, it's one item that could possibly need maintenance throughout the day, and it's something that I can't do in front of patrons. You can't like re-glue your lashes on in the middle of nowhere, like, or wherever you are. I feel like you can get away with applying lipstick in between people walking through the forest, but you can't get away with gluing on your lashes while there's patrons walking through the forest. So something to consider there. As I mentioned in the beginning, if you are choosing not to do makeup or not to do a full look, I recommend doing at least highlighter. I got like the cheapest highlighter palette on the planet. I got it at TJ Maxx for $5. But this little palette, it's called Max Studio Ultimate Highlighter, whatever, blah, 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 blah. It can glow. And it has a couple different shades. I usually use, even though I'm not like a cold weather or a water fairy, I like to use the one that's called Frost. Because it just, I feel like it's not expected. So it adds a little magic. I just use the word magic a lot. So I like to use that on my cheeks. I'm doing it just there on this one, but I also follow that entire curve when I'm doing my Amanita look. So I follow it all the way up. And then I like to use a more neutral highlighter color for my nose. And I just do a little dot. I go slightly above where I normally would. And then I do right down the center of my nose as well. You can do a little on your chin if you want. Since I'm highlighting so much over here, I don't usually do my forehead. But for kicks and giggles, I'll do it on this side. So I usually just go up the temple a little bit, almost like drawing like a little triangle. So if you see if I move how it catches the light, and then if I move this way, how it catches the light, it does things a little bit different. If you want to do your eyebrows, go for it. There's a lot of products. You can get brow markers, which are just like that are just like eyeliner markers. There's powders, there's brow pomades. I'm a fan of just a brow pencil with a spoolie because then I can brush it on, brush through it, make it a little softer. You can make your brows super fluffy, or you can just fill them in because you covered them up. That's what I usually do. So I'm not going to take a ton of time on this because it's not super important for my personal look, but just follow your normal brow just to give it some color after you covered it all up. This is where I would have a little bit more fun with Amanita. I'll take like one of the corners of it and just draw quick little up lines coming out farther than my brow normally would. Sometimes you get lucky and you hit one of your little hairs that normally doesn't show up, and it just gives it a little bit of wildness maybe. I like to keep brows fairly natural just because creatures in the forest, they don't watch beauty gurus, they don't look through magazines, they don't know about like the fade or the rules of proportions, but if that's something that's important to you, you can do that as well. It's just doing it this way for me takes maybe a minute versus I feel like personally I would get way too caught up in having to have it just right, and ain't nobody got time for that. So I don't do a lip. If I do, it's just a balm to help protect me from the sun. I would potentially do another layer of mascara just so you can see the lashes more. But that's basically that's what I do for my look. The final thing I recommend that will help everything last all day is a setting spray. There's a lot of, like NYX makes a really good one. Right now I have e.l.f. There's name brand ones you can get. But the goal of the setting spray is it helps the makeup look more skin-like, but it also sets everything that you just did. So it's less likely to rub off or be sweat off. So for that, you just spray it all over your face. You can do this before mascara if you want. I usually don't because I use waterproof mascara and I don't spray it on heavy enough for it to be a problem. All right, so moisturizer, primer, then foundation, then concealer, then powders. Eyeshadow, brows if you want to, eyeliner, however you want to do it with your designs, setting spray, and you should be good. It should last all day unless it's a really crazy day where humidity is 85% or if it's downpouring. But at that point, everybody's going to be right there with you. We'll stay strong. So thank you. And I might not have the answers, but if you need to ask questions, feel free, and I'll see what I can do to help you out. Thanks.